What if everything you believed about the leaders in power is a facade masking a dark allegiance? You might be shocked to discover that beneath their polished exteriors lies a connection to satanic rituals and occult practices. In this audiobook, you'll confront disturbing truths and hear chilling testimonies that will make you question the very foundations of authority. Are you prepared to uncover the terrifying secrets that could change your perception of the world around you? Chapter 1. Historical Roots of Satanic Influence in Politics. The chilling connection between politics and occult practices is not new. For centuries, whispers of secret rituals, hidden symbols, and dark pacts with the devil have surrounded the world's most powerful figures. From ancient civilizations to modern secret societies, history is soaked with the blood of rituals performed to manipulate fate, invoke supernatural forces, and maintain an iron grip on power. These eerie practices, long confined to shadowy backrooms, have lingered through the ages, weaving an intricate web that continues to capture the imagination of conspiracy theorists and occult believers alike. In the cold tombs of ancient Egypt, where pharaohs ruled as living gods, political power was intrinsically linked to the spiritual world. Rulers and priests alike performed dark rituals, not only to appease their gods, but to summon forces far darker. The Book of the Dead, ancient Egyptian text detailing how to navigate the afterlife, contains clues suggesting that priests acted as intermediaries between the political elite and the forces of death. They spoke of secret ceremonies performed to bind their enemies, control the elements, and even command the dead themselves. The obsession with the afterlife wasn't merely religious, it was political. To control death was to control life, and to control life was to rule with untouchable authority. Fast forward to ancient Rome, where emperors surrounded themselves with seers, diviners, and sorcerers. The Vestal Virgins, shrouded in mystery, were said to perform blood rites deep within the chambers of Rome's most sacred temples. Julius Caesar, before he crossed the Rubicon, reportedly consulted with a dark oracle who whispered secrets of his rise to ultimate power and of his grisly downfall. The assassination of Caesar, drenched in blood under a full moon, was foretold by seers whose names have been lost to time, but whose dark practices remain etched into the bones of Roman history. The line between political strategy and the supernatural was blurred, and no ruler of Rome dared to defy the omens of the occult. As the centuries wore on, the black tendrils of occultism reached into Renaissance Europe, where rulers courted both the church and the dark forces. Many believe that beneath the polished veneer of royal courts, some of Europe's most powerful leaders engaged in rituals so vile they were whispered only in the dead of night. Take, for example, the infamous Queen Catherine de' Medici, whose fascination with astrology and dark magic was well documented. While she ruled as the most powerful woman in Europe, she frequently consulted with magicians and alchemists, desperate to maintain control over her chaotic empire. Court records mention eerie midnight rituals in hidden chambers, where blood sacrifices and occult symbols were used in her desperate attempt to secure her reign. Perhaps the most unsettling figure of this time was John Dee, a noted advisor to Queen Elizabeth I. While publicly an astronomer and mathematician, Dee was deeply entrenched in the occult. His personal journals, which remain some of the most disturbing documents from the period, detail conversations with angels and demons. Dee believed that by invoking these beings, he could secure England's dominion over the world. To this day, some conspiracy theorists argue that the British Empire's rise to power was not just a matter of military prowess, but the result of Dee's dark dealings with forces beyond human comprehension. In the shadows of this growing political occultism, secret societies began to form, groups whose rituals were hidden from public view, whose intentions were whispered of in fear. The most notorious of these were the Freemasons, who, according to many accounts, acted as a network of power brokers, pulling the strings of global politics behind the scenes. The Freemasons, steeped in ritual, have long been accused of practicing dark magic to control world events. Though the group presents itself as a fraternity dedicated to moral philosophy and philanthropy, the secrecy surrounding their inner workings has led to countless accusations of occult practices. The Freemasons are often linked to the mysterious and highly controversial Illuminati, a group alleged to control world events from the shadows. Founded in the late 18th century in Bavaria, the Illuminati was purportedly a secret society dedicated to enlightenment and the overthrow of oppressive regimes. Yet the symbols associated with the group, the all-seeing eye, pyramids, and pentagrams, reveal a much darker undercurrent. Many believe that the Illuminati wield satanic power to manipulate politics and global finance, with modern conspiracy theories pointing to world leaders who are part of this clandestine order. As whispers of satanic rituals in political circles grew louder, so too did the tales of infamous individuals who wielded dark magic in their quest for power. Aleister Crowley, one of the most notorious occultists of the 20th century, claimed to have influenced world leaders through his connections to secret societies and satanic rites. Crowley, who delighted in his title as the Beast, is said to have conducted rituals that aimed to sway global events, from World War I to the rise of Nazi Germany. Though his influence on politics is often dismissed as mere speculation, Crowley's dark shadow lingers over modern occult conspiracy theories. Today, these whispers have not died, they have multiplied. Conspiracy theorists argue that the very world order we live in is shaped by satanic influence, a chilling reality cloaked in symbols, rituals, and hidden power. From the architecture of government buildings steeped in occult symbolism to the eerie hand gestures and coded language of modern politicians, many believe that Satanism is alive and well at the heart of global power. The history of satanic influence in politics is not just a relic of the past. It is a haunting specter that continues to terrify, lurking just beneath the surface of modern civilization. Chapter 2. The Rise of Luciferian Conspiracy Theories. The 20th century saw the birth of a new era, one where shadows lurked just beneath the veneer of progress and innovation. As the world stepped into the age of technology and global politics, darker whispers began to emerge. The name that would come to define this fear was Lucifer, not just a biblical symbol of rebellion and evil, but a figure around which new waves of conspiracy theories would swirl. These theories claimed that the world's political elite were not merely wealthy or powerful. They were disciples of the Prince of Darkness himself, using satanic rituals to manipulate governments, economies, and entire populations. One man who looms large in the terrifying fabric of these conspiracies is Aleister Crowley, a British occultist who proudly called himself the Beast 666. Crowley's influence in occult circles was undeniable, and he reveled in his notoriety. But as the 20th century unfolded, conspiracy theorists began to allege that his influence spread far beyond secret orders and arcane societies. They claimed that Crowley's teachings of Thelema, a spiritual philosophy centered on the phrase, "do what thou wilt," had infiltrated the upper echelons of political power. His disciples, they said, walked among the elites, covertly spreading Luciferian ideals into global policy. Crowley's most infamous work, the Book of the Law, which purported to have been dictated by a demonic entity, preached a new era of human consciousness, one where the strong ruled over the weak, and the laws of man were secondary to the cosmic laws of power and will. Conspiracy theorists argued that world leaders had taken these teachings to heart, and that the chaos and suffering of the 20th century, the world wars, the rise of fascism, and the onset of nuclear brinkmanship, were all driven by Crowley's dark influence. They point to chilling coincidences, like the fact that Crowley's occult lodge in London had been just blocks away from where Winston Churchill would later operate during World War II, implying that Crowley's influence seeped into the very strategy of the Allied forces. While Crowley was certainly notorious in his own right, the tendrils of conspiracy reached even deeper into the heart of world affairs. The names Rockefeller and Rothschild, families synonymous with unimaginable wealth and global influence, became focal points for conspiracy theorists who claimed that these dynasties were tied to satanic worship. The Rockefellers, with their hands in everything from oil to finance to healthcare, were painted as a shadowy cabal orchestrating the world economy. The Rothschilds, even more ancient in their legacy, were accused of running international banking systems that fueled war and oppression under the guise of monetary control, all while participating in satanic rites that fueled their power. These families, it was said, weren't just playing with politics, they were puppeteers. Conspiracy theorists claimed that secret meetings and gatherings of the elite, such as the Bilderberg Group or the annual retreat at Bohemian Grove, were not just opportunities to discuss policy. No, these were modern-day covens, where rituals were performed, sacrifices made, and pacts with dark forces renewed. The infamous footage from Bohemian Grove, captured by journalist Alex Jones, shows men in positions of power gathered around a massive owl statue during a mock sacrifice ritual. To believers of these conspiracy theories, this was no mere theater. It was a reenactment of ancient satanic rites, a visual reminder that those in power worshipped darker forces behind the scenes. As the United Nations rose from the ashes of World War II, it became another focal point for conspiracy theorists who believed in the hidden hand of Luciferianism. The UN's mission of global governance and peacekeeping was viewed by some as a cover for a more insidious goal: world domination under the guise of unity. The United Nations headquarters, with its strange esoteric symbols and geometric architecture, was said to be designed as a temple to Lucifer, built to channel dark energy and influence global events. The theory suggested that the UN was not just a political body, but a satanic institution designed to consolidate power and control over sovereign nations, bringing them under one unified, evil authority. The globalist movements of the late 20th century further fueled these beliefs. As nations became more interconnected, with treaties, alliances, and economic agreements, conspiracy theorists saw evidence of a looming new world order, a world government run by the elite, operating under the command of satanic forces. The rise of international bodies like the International Monetary Fund, the World Health Organization, and other global institutions was seen as further proof that these organizations were part of a grand Luciferian plan to enslave humanity. Their influence stretched over borders, their decisions affecting billions, and, to the conspiracy theorists, this could only be possible with supernatural, demonic backing. One particularly chilling event in the timeline of these theories is the assassination of John F. Kennedy. Many conspiracy theorists claim that Kennedy's murder was not just the work of political rivals or the CIA, but a Luciferian ritual sacrifice. Kennedy, who had spoken out against secret societies and warned of shadow governments in one of his final public speeches, was seen as a threat to the elite powers that be. His brutal execution in broad daylight, with the world watching, was described as a form of public sacrifice, a blood ritual designed to send a message to any who would oppose the satanic cabal pulling the strings behind the scenes. As these theories grew, the internet allowed them to spread faster than ever. Blogs, forums, and later social media became breeding grounds for discussions on Luciferian influence in politics. Each strange occurrence, each unexplained death, each cryptic remark made by a politician became fuel for the fire. Theories of satanic rituals taking place in high political offices continue to grow, with believers pointing to current events as evidence that the dark influence persists. In the shadows of power, in the hallowed halls of government buildings, conspiracy theorists see more than policy and diplomacy. They see dark ceremonies, secret symbols, and whispered odes to Lucifer, a chilling undercurrent that continues to terrify and captivate those who believe in the darkest forces behind the world's most powerful figures. Chapter 3. The Case of Michael Aquino and U.S. Military Ties to Satanism. The shadowy underbelly of the U.S. military is often a source of wild speculation and dark conspiracy, but few cases evoke more fear and controversy than that of Lieutenant Colonel Michael Aquino, a high-ranking officer and the founder of the Temple of Set. Aquino's involvement in occult practices, paired with his military career, led many to believe that something far darker lurked within the highest echelons of government. His name became synonymous with Satanism in the United States military, and his role in the 1987 Presidio child abuse scandal only added fuel to the fire, creating a chilling narrative of hidden satanic agendas infiltrating the armed forces. Aquino's ties to the occult were not subtle. He was not a man hiding his dark beliefs in the shadows. In fact, Aquino embraced his association with Satanism, founding the Temple of Set after breaking away from Anton LaVey's Church of Satan. Unlike LaVey's organization, which many viewed as a somewhat theatrical form of atheism, The Temple of Set took a more serious approach to the worship of ancient Egyptian deities, with Set representing the force of darkness and individualism. This, combined with Aquino's career as a psychological warfare expert in the U.S. Army, gave rise to chilling theories that the military itself was entangled in occult practices. But it was the allegations that tied Aquino to the 1987 Presidio child abuse scandal that truly struck terror into the hearts of the American public. The Presidio military base in San Francisco, home to hundreds of military families, became the center of a horrifying investigation when several children attending its daycare center accused caretakers of sexual abuse. What should have been a straightforward criminal case took a darker turn when Aquino's name was drawn into the investigation. Parents of the abused children reported that their kids described participating in satanic rituals that involved dark-robed figures, blood sacrifices, and symbols of the occult. As investigators dug deeper, Aquino's connection to the Presidio scandal became harder to ignore. His home, which was searched by authorities, reportedly contained occult materials and was adorned with eerie symbols linked to his Temple of Set. The home was also described as having been used for ritual ceremonies. Although Aquino was never formally charged, the accusations haunted him, and to many, his involvement in satanic practices and his presence at Presidio were far from coincidental. The media frenzy that followed painted a portrait of Aquino as more than just a military officer with unorthodox religious views. He became the embodiment of fears that satanic rituals were being carried out under the cloak of U.S. government operations. Aquino's background in psychological warfare only heightened these fears. His expertise in manipulating human perception and behavior led conspiracy theorists to claim that satanic mind control techniques were being tested on military personnel and civilians alike, with Aquino as a key figure orchestrating these dark experiments. Aquino himself did little to dispel these rumors. Publicly, he defended his practices as a form of spiritual expression, insisting that his involvement in the occult had nothing to do with illegal or immoral acts. He dismissed the child abuse allegations as baseless, blaming them on mass hysteria fueled by the satanic panic that gripped the U.S. during the 1980s. But for many, Aquino's dismissals only deepened their suspicions. The combination of his military position, his unapologetic embrace of Satanism, and the horrifying allegations of Presidio made it easy for the public to believe that something far darker was at play. What terrified people most were the implications that Aquino's influence extended beyond Presidio, that the U.S. military, a symbol of strength and protection, had been infiltrated by a satanic undercurrent. Conspiracy theorists latched onto this idea, claiming that Aquino was not an outlier but part of a broader network of occult practitioners within the military. Some pointed to Aquino's involvement in the Mind War Project, a psychological operation aimed at influencing enemy forces through propaganda and psychological manipulation, as evidence that the military was experimenting with dark, satanic powers to control both soldiers and civilians. The idea of the military using occult practices to manipulate global events wasn't just a fringe theory. It found its way into mainstream culture, with shows like Unsolved Mysteries and Geraldo devoting segments to the allegations surrounding Aquino. These shows fed into the growing paranoia of the era, convincing millions that satanic rituals were taking place right under their noses, facilitated by powerful institutions like the military. Aquino, with his distinct appearance, his sharply arched eyebrows, and intimidating demeanor, became a living embodiment of these fears. Even more chilling were the whispered allegations that Aquino and his followers within the military were conducting secret rituals to summon dark forces and tap into satanic power. Rumors spread that these rituals were used to curse enemies, gain supernatural insight into military strategies, and ensure victory in battle. Conspiracy theorists claimed that the military's obsession with advanced weaponry and mind control was tied to these occult practices, and that high-ranking officials participated in these rituals, pledging their allegiance to Satan in exchange for power and influence on the global stage. To this day, the legacy of Michael Aquino and his ties to the U.S. military remains shrouded in mystery. While no formal charges were ever brought against him for his involvement in the Presidio scandal, the accusations have never been forgotten. His name continues to surface in discussions about the intersection of politics, military operations, and the occult. For many, Aquino's very existence is proof that satanic forces are at work behind the scenes of government and military operations, a terrifying reality that haunts those who believe in the power of the dark forces he represented. As we look deeper into the shadowy corridors of power, one thing becomes clear. Michael Aquino's case is not an isolated incident, but part of a much larger narrative. It's a narrative that suggests that beneath the polished surface of military and political institutions, darker rituals are being performed, unseen by the public eye, but deeply influential in the course of world events. Whether Aquino was truly involved in these sinister practices or merely a scapegoat for the fears of an anxious public, his legacy remains a chilling reminder that the line between reality and nightmare is often thinner than we think. Chapter 4: World Leaders and Satanic Symbolism. The idea that world leaders are entwined with dark, occult forces has long captivated the imaginations of conspiracy theorists and the public alike. A growing body of unsettling claims suggests that many influential figures are not merely participants in clandestine rituals, but openly display their allegiances through the use of occult and satanic symbols in public life. From cryptic hand signs to esoteric architectural designs, these symbols have been interpreted as veiled messages to those in the know, proof, they say, that the corridors of global power are haunted by something far more sinister than mere politics. Take, for instance, the inverted pentagram, perhaps the most infamous of satanic symbols. The five-pointed star, when flipped upside down, is said to represent the descent of spirit into matter, a symbol tied to Lucifer and Satanism. The presence of this dark motif on political stages, flags, and even within government buildings has been highlighted by those who believe the elite are sending out a call to the followers of Lucifer. One particularly chilling example is found in the street layout of Washington, D.C. Conspiracy theorists argue that certain angles and streets form the unmistakable shape of an inverted pentagram, with the White House at its southern tip, a symbol of Satan's influence right at the heart of American power. But these claims are not limited to architecture. Photographic evidence is frequently used by conspiracy theorists to reveal the supposed satanic affiliations of high-ranking political figures. One such figure who is often scrutinized is George H.W. Bush. During his presidency, conspiracy theorists claim to have noticed frequent use of the horn hand gesture, popularly associated with the occult and devil worship. What some might dismiss as a mere coincidence or an innocent hand signal is, for those who believe in these theories, an intentional display of allegiance to darker forces. In several public appearances, Bush was photographed with his hand raised in what appears to be the devil horns gesture. This sparked fevered speculation that he was signaling his allegiance to a secret Luciferian cabal pulling the strings behind world events. The same allegations have followed Barack Obama. His 2 terms in office were rife with claims that his administration was a front for occult powers. Conspiracy theorists have fixated on Obama's frequent use of cryptic language in speeches, as well as subtle hand movements that they interpreted as satanic symbols. For instance, during several public addresses, Obama was photographed making the same horn hand gesture, sending ripples of panic through those who saw it as irrefutable proof that dark forces were at play. Theories ran rampant that his presidency marked a new era of satanic influence over the globe, with his policies paving the way for an occult-controlled new world order. One particularly eerie example of alleged occult symbolism tied to Obama came during his 2008 presidential acceptance speech. Delivered in front of a massive crowd, Obama stood on a stage with a backdrop that many claimed was modeled after ancient Roman temples associated with pagan rituals and worship of false gods. Theories quickly surfaced that this imagery was deliberately designed to invoke ancient paganism, blending the political future with occult influences. Supporters of these theories claimed that the staging was meant to signal a new world of political domination through Luciferian means. As bizarre as these claims might seem, they are far from isolated. The Rockefeller family, long at the center of globalist conspiracy theories, has also been accused of using satanic symbols in their political and philanthropic ventures. The family's close ties to the United Nations and other international organizations have led to rampant speculation that they are secret players in a global Luciferian agenda. Skeptics of globalism have pointed out various symbols found in Rockefeller-sponsored institutions and gatherings, interpreting them as coded messages to followers of the occult. One such symbol that has drawn much attention is the all-seeing eye, found on U.S. currency and frequently depicted in Rockefeller-affiliated events. This eye, hovering above an unfinished pyramid, has been seen as a mark of satanic domination, proof, some say, that the elite are quietly orchestrating the downfall of traditional power structures to usher in a new Luciferian age. In Europe, the Rothschild family has often been linked to similar accusations. Known for their vast wealth and influence in global banking, the Rothschilds have been subject to claims that they control governments and financial institutions as part of a satanic cabal. Some theorists have pointed to the Rothschild coat of arms, which features an unsettling mix of symbols, including the shield of a black eagle, a lion, and a red background, colors and animals that are often associated with occult practices. Adding to the eerie atmosphere, conspiracy theorists claim that several public Rothschild gatherings, especially lavish parties thrown in the mid-20th century, bore all the hallmarks of satanic rituals, with grotesque costumes, mass participants, and unsettling decor that conjured images of ancient occult ceremonies. The power of these theories lies not only in the fear they evoke, but also in their ability to weave together seemingly innocuous details into a narrative of conspiracy. One of the most persistent allegations involves secret handshakes and the use of hidden symbols in political rituals. Freemasonry, often accused of harboring occult secrets, is said to be a breeding ground for satanic influence. World leaders, conspiracy theorists argue, partake in secret Masonic rituals, pledging their loyalty to Lucifer while using coded hand gestures and symbols to communicate with one another. The notorious Masonic handshake, where fingers are positioned in specific ways to convey secret allegiances, is often mentioned as a hidden code between political elites. To those who believe in these theories, these symbols are more than just accidents or misinterpretations. They are evidence of a global network of satanic influence, quietly shaping the world in Lucifer's image. Every subtle hand gesture, every odd symbol embedded in political architecture, is seen as proof that world leaders are not mere politicians but key players in an ancient occult game, one that has been in motion for centuries and continues to haunt the modern world. In the minds of believers, the message is clear. The satanic symbolism woven into political life is not coincidental. It is intentional. It is calculated, and it is terrifying. Chapter 5. The Bohemian Grove, where the elite meet the occult. In the heart of the towering redwoods of Northern California lies a place shrouded in secrecy and fear, Bohemian Grove. For over a century, this 2,700-acre retreat has hosted the world's most powerful men, presidents, CEOs, and political influencers, all gathering for what appears on the surface to be a social event of camaraderie. But lurking beneath the benign veneer of barbecues and bonfires are whispered rumors of darker, more sinister practices, rituals that invoke ancient occult powers and link these elite figures to satanic rites. The Bohemian Grove's most infamous event, the cremation of care ceremony, is at the center of these chilling conspiracy theories. Every summer, under the cover of night and in the shadows of the ancient trees, members of this elite club gather before a colossal statue of an owl, an effigy standing 40 feet tall, symbolizing knowledge and wisdom to some. But for conspiracy theorists, it is a sign of far more diabolical things. The owl has long been connected with occult symbolism, representing the ancient god Moloch, a figure historically associated with child sacrifice and satanic worship. As the ceremony begins, the air grows thick with anticipation. Hooded figures, cloaked in dark robes reminiscent of ancient occultists, march through the shadows, holding torches aloft. In their hands is an effigy, representing dull care, the worries and responsibilities of the world. This effigy is set ablaze before the towering owl, symbolically burning away the burdens of the powerful men gathered there. To the outside observer, it may seem like an elaborate theatrical production, but to those who believe in the grove's deeper, more sinister purpose, it is a ritual sacrifice, a calling forth of dark energies to fortify these leaders with power beyond the mortal realm. The first whispers of something malevolent within the Grove began decades ago, but it wasn't until journalist Alex Jones infiltrated the camp in the year 2000 that the world caught a glimpse of what really happens inside. Jones, known for his provocative and controversial documentaries, managed to sneak into the Bohemian Grove with a hidden camera, capturing footage of the cremation of Care ceremony. The grainy, shadowy video revealed the hooded figures, the eerie owl, and the burning effigy. Though Jones himself survived the ordeal, he was visibly shaken by the experience, claiming that what he had witnessed was nothing short of a satanic ritual. In his report, Jones described the ceremony as a twisted form of worship, where the most powerful men in the world, those shaping policies, economies, and wars, offered their souls to something far more dangerous than anyone dared to believe. According to Jones and many conspiracy theorists who followed his expose, the Bohemian Grove is not merely a social club, but a hidden meeting ground where satanic forces are invoked to ensure the continued dominance of these global elites. The Grove's secretive nature only adds to its dark allure. No women are allowed, no public access is permitted, and the media is strictly banned from the premises. This exclusivity, combined with the Grove's famous attendees, men like Richard Nixon, Ronald Reagan, and George H.W. Bush, has fueled the narrative that the Bohemian Grove is more than just a playground for the powerful. Many believe it is the headquarters of an ancient Luciferian order, where politicians and business moguls gather to solidify their satanic ties, and in return are granted protection, wealth, and control over the world's governments. For decades, insiders and whistleblowers have come forward, claiming that the Bohemian Grove is far more insidious than what is publicly known. Some former employees, though fearful of retaliation, have told stories of bizarre rituals and unsettling behaviors. One former worker who chose to remain anonymous described how, during the cremation of Care, the air would grow thick with a sense of dread. There was something off about the whole thing, he recalled. The laughter, the chanting, it wasn't natural. It felt like we were watching something we shouldn't have been seeing, like we were witnessing a pact being made with something ancient, something dark. Further fueling the fire is the Grove's long-standing ties to Freemasonry and other secret societies, which have historically been linked to occult practices. Conspiracy theorists claim that the Freemasons, long suspected of satanic affiliations, used the Bohemian Grove as a place to carry out high-level Luciferian rituals, solidifying their grip on political power. The Masonic symbols, hidden within the Grove's architecture and rituals, are said to be proof of this connection. But it is not just the Freemasons who were suspected of occult involvement. The Illuminati, another secretive group frequently accused of satanic practices, has also been linked to Bohemian Grove. According to some theories, the cremation of Care is not simply a symbolic burning of worries, but rather an actual occult ritual meant to summon dark forces to protect and empower the elite. The owl, often seen as a representation of Moloch, is said to be an ancient god to whom these elites offer their symbolic sacrifices in exchange for dominion over the world. To outsiders, the Bohemian Grove remains a mystery, its gates locked tight against the prying eyes of the public. But to those who have dared to look deeper, to those who believe in the power of symbols and rituals, the Grove is far more than a gathering place for the elite. It is a place where the world's most powerful figures offer themselves up to something ancient and malevolent, where Luciferian forces are called upon to ensure that their grip on global events remains unbroken. The cremation of Care, to those who believe, is not just an annual tradition. It is a yearly reaffirmation of their pact with the dark. As long as the fires of Bohemian Grove continue to burn, so too will the power of those who gather there. Haunted by the shadows of the ancient gods they serve, hidden from the light of the world they seek to control. Chapter 6. Pizzagate and Satanic Panic in Modern Politics. In the fevered atmosphere of the 2016 U.S. election cycle, a dark and terrifying conspiracy began to seep into the undercurrents of political discourse, Pizzagate. What started as whispers in the depths of internet forums soon morphed into a full-blown panic, its tendrils creeping into mainstream consciousness. The theory was as shocking as it was grotesque. Top Democratic politicians were allegedly running a satanic child trafficking ring from the basement of a Washington, D.C. pizzeria. The accusations were rife with symbols of the occult, drawing on centuries of fear surrounding hidden rituals, dark magic, and secret societies. The roots of Pizzagate dug deep into the fertile soil of modern conspiracy culture, nourished by decades of suspicion about the elite's ties to Luciferian practices. The story first gained traction after hacked emails from John Podesta, the chairman of Hillary Clinton's 2016 presidential campaign, were released by WikiLeaks. In these emails, conspiracy theorists found what they believed to be coded messages, innocuous references to pizza and pasta that they claimed were veiled communications about child sex trafficking. This interpretation spiraled out of control, feeding into existing narratives about the elite's alleged involvement in satanic rituals. The epicenter of this conspiracy was Comet Ping Pong, a pizzeria in the heart of Washington, D.C., which Pizzagate believers accused of being the headquarters for this nefarious operation. Online sleuths pored over photos, searching for evidence of occult symbols, and found what they considered damning proof. A logo that they claimed resembled a pedophilia symbol, peculiar artwork on the walls, and connections to wealthy and influential individuals. The fear took on a life of its own, fueled by constant speculation and the viral nature of internet rumors. But the heart of Pizzagate was not just about a pizzeria. It was about something much larger, a deeply rooted belief that powerful political figures, particularly those aligned with liberal and globalist agendas, were involved in satanic practices. For years, conspiracy theorists had accused the global elite of engaging in secret rituals, sacrificing children, and drinking their blood in pursuit of power. These ideas were reminiscent of the satanic panic of the 1980s, when fears of satanic cults infiltrating daycare centers and suburban communities gripped the nation. Pizzagate, however, felt more immediate, more visceral. As images of occult symbols flooded social media, many became convinced that the emails, the symbols, and the power players involved were part of a broader satanic conspiracy. The term satanic panic had once again resurfaced in the public consciousness, but this time it was tightly entwined with modern political discourse. The theory spread like wildfire, with believers pointing to photographs of Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama engaging in what they saw as satanic gestures and symbols, further cementing the connection between politics and occultism. The panic reached a fever pitch when Edgar Madison Welch, a 28-year-old man from North Carolina, decided to take matters into his own hands. Armed with an assault rifle, Welch stormed into Comet Ping Pong in December 2016, determined to investigate the alleged child sex trafficking ring. He believed that by entering the basement, he would uncover the horrifying truth: politicians sacrificing children to dark forces, all part of a broader Luciferian agenda. What he found, however, was nothing. Comet Ping Pong didn't even have a basement. Welch's actions were a stark reminder of the real-world consequences of conspiracy theories. His violent intrusion into the pizzeria shocked the nation, but it did little to quell the fervor of Pizzagate believers. Instead, it seemed to embolden them. They saw Welch as a martyr for the cause, someone brave enough to confront the darkness that they were certain lurked beneath the surface of modern politics. The myth of Pizzagate persisted, weaving itself into an even broader tapestry of conspiracies that accused the political elite of satanic behavior. Pizzagate wasn't an isolated incident. It was the culmination of years of growing paranoia, fueled by internet forums and alternative media sources that peddled the idea that global elites were engaged in child sacrifice and dark magic to maintain their grip on power. These conspiracies were often linked to ancient myths about blood rituals, the idea that drinking the blood of the innocent, particularly children, could confer immortality or great power. The elite, according to these theories, had long dabbled in such rituals, using their influence and wealth to hide their satanic inclinations from the public eye. For conspiracy theorists, Pizzagate was just one part of a much larger puzzle. It was tied to other allegations, such as those surrounding the Bohemian Grove, where elite figures supposedly performed occult rituals, and the idea that Freemasonry was a front for satanic worship. The common thread in all these beliefs was the idea that those in power were not just corrupt, they were engaged in something far more evil. They were using the dark arts, the blood of the innocent, and satanic rites to control the world. As Pizzagate continued to circulate, it found a home within broader conspiratorial movements, such as QAnon, which advanced similar claims about political elites and child trafficking. The theory expanded to include accusations that elites not only trafficked children, but also harvested a substance called adrenochrome from them, a compound supposedly extracted through torture and consumed to maintain youth. These claims, though fantastical, tapped into deep-seated fears about corruption, occultism, and the misuse of power. While mainstream media debunked Pizzagate as a baseless conspiracy, it didn't stop believers from spreading the message. The fear of satanic influence in politics had taken root once again, resurrecting the age-old specter of Luciferianism in the corridors of power. It seemed that no matter how thoroughly the conspiracy was disproven, the belief persisted, living on as a terrifying undercurrent in political discourse. The 21st century's version of satanic panic had merged with modern politics, proving that the fear of occult influence in power structures, dating back to ancient times, was far from over. The idea that the world's most powerful figures are secretly servants of Satan continues to haunt the collective psyche, a chilling reminder that even in our modern world, some believe darkness controls those who control us. Chapter 7. Testimonies from Whistleblowers and Defectors. The room was dimly lit, with shadows clinging to the corners like ancient secrets waiting to be revealed. In a voice just above a whisper, Ronald Bernard, a former Dutch banker, sat across from his interviewer, his face pale, eyes haunted. He was no ordinary whistleblower. Bernard claimed to have been part of the global financial elite, privy to the dark underbelly of power. But what he described went far beyond financial corruption. It was something far more sinister. They brought me to places where I was forced to participate in satanic rituals, Bernard explained in a trembling voice during his interview. He recounted being introduced to world leaders, wealthy businessmen, and other powerful figures who engaged in rituals involving child sacrifice. His breaking point, he claimed, came when he was asked to take part in such a ritual. "That's where I drew the line," he said, staring into the camera, visibly shaken. He had refused, walking away from that world, but the memory of what he had seen continued to haunt him. Bernard's chilling testimony is just one of many whispered claims of satanic influence within the highest echelons of global power. Over the decades, other former insiders and defectors from secret societies such as the Illuminati have come forward with similarly terrifying stories. In hushed tones, they recount dark rituals, blood sacrifices, and the summoning of occult forces, all allegedly performed by people in positions of authority, politicians, CEOs, and other elite figures. Kathy O'Brien, a former victim of the MKUltra program, claimed that her life as a mind-controlled sex slave included witnessing some of the most disturbing rituals imaginable. O'Brien has accused high-ranking government officials of being deeply entrenched in satanic practices. Her memoir, Transformation of America, describes experiences of ritual abuse, where she witnessed prominent figures, including U.S. politicians, engaging in horrifying occult ceremonies. According to O'Brien, these rituals were not just for spectacle, but for invoking dark spiritual forces used to gain influence and power over others. Among the most infamous accusations in this realm are those involving Bohemian Grove, where politicians and business leaders have been said to meet annually. Former insiders like Paul Bonacci testified that this elite retreat, often dismissed as a simple social gathering, is in fact a place where the wealthy and powerful engage in satanic rites. Bonacci's account is one of many that describes the now infamous cremation of care ceremony, where a massive effigy of an owl, symbolizing an ancient god linked to occult practices, is set aflame. While many dismiss this as harmless theater, others, like Bonacci, insist that it is part of a much darker agenda, one in which those present are symbolically casting aside their humanity to embrace darker forces. Some testimonies go even deeper into the shadowy world of secret societies. In a rare interview, John Todd, a self-proclaimed defector from the Illuminati, described a vast and powerful organization that uses satanic rituals to control world events. Todd, who claimed to be a former member of the highest ranks of this organization, warned that many world leaders and prominent figures were under the control of the Illuminati, using occult practices to manipulate the masses. He spoke of ceremonies where newborn infants were sacrificed, and dark entities were invoked to influence political decisions and shape global policy. Though Todd's story has been met with skepticism, his claims align with those of Svalai, another alleged former Illuminati member. Svalai's testimony is equally terrifying, as she recounted how political figures around the world were indoctrinated into satanic rituals from a young age. According to her, these leaders were taught to manipulate the masses through fear, chaos, and psychological control, all with the aid of dark spiritual forces. Svalai's allegations detailed how these individuals are bound to the Illuminati through blood rituals, ensuring their loyalty to the cause and their commitment to carrying out the organization's malevolent agenda. But perhaps the most unsettling testimony comes from Altian Childs, a former Australian X Factor winner turned whistleblower. In a shocking 5-hour video released in 2021, Childs claimed that Freemasonry, a secretive organization with many members in political and elite circles, is deeply tied to Satanism. Childs described the various levels of initiation within Freemasonry, alleging that as members ascend to higher ranks, they are gradually introduced to Luciferian doctrines. He claimed that politicians and world leaders who are part of this secretive group participate in occult rituals, which are designed to invoke satanic forces for guidance and power. Child's video detailed the hidden symbols that pervade politics and popular culture, pointing to the prevalence of inverted pentagrams, 666 hand signs, and all-seeing eyes in the media and political arenas. To those who believe in these conspiracies, these symbols are not mere coincidences, but rather evidence of a global satanic network pulling the strings behind the scenes. For Childs, his escape from Freemasonry was a harrowing experience, and he described his decision to expose these secrets as an act of defiance against a global Luciferian conspiracy. The chilling testimonies of Bernard, O'Brien, Todd, Svalai, and Childs all paint a nightmarish picture. A world where Satanism and occult practices are not just the domain of fringe groups, but woven into the very fabric of global politics. According to these whistleblowers and defectors, powerful figures who shape the course of world events are not just influenced by money or ideology, they are driven by a darker, more malevolent force. In the shadows of political power, where decisions affecting billions are made, the whispers of occult rituals and satanic ceremonies continue to echo. These testimonies suggest that the corridors of power may not be what they seem. Behind the suits, behind the smiles, behind the carefully curated images of politicians and world leaders could lurk a much darker allegiance, one that serves not the people, but something far more sinister. As these whistleblowers would have you believe, the satanic influence in modern politics is not a relic of the past, but a living, breathing presence hidden in plain sight. Whether you believe in their accounts or not, the eerie consistency in their stories raises one terrifying question. What if they're right?